Right. Okay. Thank you very much for joining us today. We are going to go through some financial planning opportunities and UK property. And we have a guest speaker today, Colin Gray from Thrive Property. And we'll just have a quick 20-minute chat about some of the opportunities, advantages and disadvantages of buying UK property in our current COVID-19 environment. We're live on YouTube if you want to watch it direct. If you have any questions, then by all means, you can put it in the Q&A box at the bottom. And if you want to get in contact with either of us, then the YouTube will be available for viewing afterwards. And our contact details will be at the bottom of the email that we will send out. So thank you very much, Colin, for coming and joining us today.
No problem.
Can you tell us a bit about yourself and the company that you work for?
Yeah, we're Thrive Investment Property. We're a investment property expert based in Hong Kong. Although our primary market is the UK, so we work with expatriates and foreign nationals that are looking to either start or build or manage a portfolio in the UK, and we work alongside them from the start right through the whole process for them. So we're there as a support function, really.
And how did you get into this type of business then?
Well, I've worked directly for a developer in the UK for some years. I'm also a qualified UK mortgage broker. I've also had experience of working on the rental management side of things. So really, I've covered all aspects of the business. So it was almost like an organic process, if you like, to move into setting up something on my own, which is what we've done. And yeah, it's been very successful so far and enjoying it.
And what type of properties do most expats look at, or what type of properties are you tending to give advice on to them?
Well, as a business, we can source any property. We can source residential and we can source commercial. However, as we will touch on throughout this chat, I'm sure there are certain areas and certain factors that we need to ensure that we cover off to make sure that you're utilising your potential in the UK. So we tend as a business to focus on city centre environments. Most of our clients are based overseas, so be that in Middle East or Asia, Southeast Asia and such like. So they want a hassle-free experience, Andrew, really, where you're not getting phone calls at 1 a.m. in the morning because your boiler's broken or the tenant's not paid the rent or something like that. You want something that's going to, as I say, give you a hassle-free experience. So we focus on newer properties based in major UK city centres, properties that are going to carry 10-year building guarantees, will have brand new appliances. So hopefully the idea being is you buy the property, you pick up your rent and you watch it grow in value. So the answer is that we can look for everything, but our recommendation is that you focus on the major UK city centres at this time.
Is that generally a good behaviour for a successful property portfolio? If someone wanted to add a couple of them, they should probably have new build over just older properties, or not in major city centres?
Well, I think it's the same as when you're advising on a pension or a stock portfolio. I'm guessing, forgive me if I'm wrong, that one of the key things you will focus on is diversification. You will seek to tailor that portfolio to the individual and what their hopes and needs and aspirations are. It's exactly the same with a property portfolio, really. But you have to bear in mind from an expat perspective, an overseas national perspective, that if you want funding or some form of finance, then you really need to be ticking boxes for the lender to make sure that they're going to give you the money. And city centres tend to do that. Derelict houses and doing them up and self-build mortgages are available, but the criteria is a lot stricter.
And how easy is it to get a mortgage as an expat? I mean, this is one of those eternal questions that I always come up against. It's like, I want to buy a property, but can you help me get a mortgage? What do I need to do? What's the basic requirements that someone
Well, if you've heard it a lot, you can probably imagine how many times I've heard it. So we tend to try and focus on the 3 golden rules. Okay. Now, these aren't set in stone, but if you can adhere to these rules, what it's going to give you is more choice of lender, which means that you've got more choice on rate, which means that you can maximize the yield and the growth on your portfolio. So first one is £100,000 is typically the minimum loan that you can expect to achieve from a lender as an expat. There are lenders that will do less, don't get me wrong. However, you may be compromised on rate. So
that's immediately going to say what type of property you can have then, right? You can't have a lower value than the loan then.
Yeah, I mean, you've probably heard of the Robbie Fowler story where he's bought up streets in the north of England all for £30,000 a pop and things like that. Unless you've got the cash, you're not going to get finance for it, no. Okay. So hence why we've done our research, we've done our due diligence, and we've focused on the city centre. So yeah, £100,000 minimum loan is pretty much set in stone or thereabouts. 30% deposit is your next one. So a 30% deposit will put your minimum purchase price at circa 140, 145. But once again, there are lenders that will dip below that from time to time, but you just may find that the rate is not as appealing as what a high deposit will offer. Same as any mortgage in the UK.
Yeah. Are the rates similar to the UK, or are they slightly different for an expat?
Well, if you're buying residentially in the UK, obviously you can get lower rates. But from a buy-to-let perspective, they're pretty much on a par. We always recommend we're working on anything between 2.5, 3 to 3.75 at the moment for expats if you're adhering to the 3 golden rules, shall we say. Yeah. If you deviate from those, you may find it's a bit higher. So once again, it depends on how much you need that finance and how much you want that property.
Yeah, okay. And then the location of the property itself, I assume, makes a big difference as well, right? Hence you go for city centre.
Well, it does from a lender perspective. You know, they're looking at risk, aren't they? It's all about risk. They're lending money. You may think that because you're an expatriate and you're overseas and you're earning good income, that they may deem you as just as appealing as they would someone that lives in the UK. But unfortunately, they cannot get hold of you as easy as maybe they can someone in the UK if things go wrong. So because of that, they prefer to focus on city centres. You'll find you're going to get more choice. They prefer areas that are high in commercial activity, so lots of businesses working in the region, so there's going to be a steady flow of tenancies. And if the worst does come to the worst and they did have to take that property back off you, they can sell it quickly, and they don't want to hang on to it. That's the last thing they want to do. Yeah,
I see. What do people do wrong then when they try and buy property? Because it's always that it's as a mantra in financial planning that you should always own property at some point.
Yeah.
And I'm a big subscriber to having it in an asset base or building a property portfolio. But where does it go wrong? Otherwise, everyone would do it, right?
Well, I think from an expat perspective, there's a number of reasons where it goes wrong. One is that we're all very good at getting the wrong advice from the wrong people. We all know someone who is at the local pub or the local restaurant that you see on a regular basis, or who's got a friend of a friend that will give you advice, and we tend as a human race to listen to that and let it cloud our judgment. So we don't seek out the right advice from the right people. I think from an expat perspective, the biggest mistake that people make is they want to zone in on their hometown and where they know. And that is what I probably hear even more than the mortgage question is. I found something in my hometown, but I want to buy there because my mum can look after that and my friend just lives around the corner and he can manage it. But you're not then doing your due diligence on the potential growth that property is going to offer you. Is there going to be a steady stream of tenants available for that property? And they go down the route and they try and do it themselves, and they use a UK mortgage broker. And then right at the last minute, because it's not in a city centre and because it's not appealing to the mortgage lender, they cannot get the finance. And they probably spend time, energy and resource on doing that when really they should have employed a professional who works with expats all the time to assist them.
Yes, yeah, I've come across people like that in the past. Is there other types of, I'll not say scams, but property fairs or issues that happen when you go along to those type of events?
Well, look, there's lots of things out there on the property market these days that people can get involved in, whether you're looking for a short-term fix or whether you're looking for a long-term fix. From our perspective, we focus purely on residential property with a view to long-term growth, and obviously having an attractive yield on the side of that. There's lots of other things out there at the moment. You'll see student accommodation, care home accommodation, where there's some very attractive yields. You cannot necessarily raise finance on those, but they're very attractive from an income perspective. The key
what seems to be the problem with those? Because I do come across those type of opportunities where it's student accommodation or definitely care homes at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, whether it's a problem or not is whether it's right for you. So the reason the UK market is so strong and why it's always been so strong is it's got a clear exit strategy. It's a very strong secondary market. So if you buy something new in the UK and in 5 to 10 years time you want to move it on, it's very likely that you'll move it on quite quickly as long as you're realistic on the price you want to achieve. With things like student accommodation and care home accommodation, there's lots of talk of buybacks and things like that, but none of them have ever really been proven. So it's just the exit strategy is not as clear as buying residential property.
Yeah, I see. And then what about currently with the UK is just coming out of this lockdown as the rest of the world is? What do you see some of the, I suppose, advantages and disadvantages of buying there at the moment?
Well, look, it's been a funny old 3 months for all of us, hasn't it? We didn't expect this to happen, and none of us have experienced it before. But you have to go back to your fundamentals, really, the same as you would with a stock and share portfolio. You look at why is the UK market so popular and why has it always been so resilient? It's because it's got the robust legal process. It's because it's got clear exit strategy, and it's because there's a shortage of supply. That hasn't changed. COVID has not changed any of that. And the fact that the last 3 or 4 weeks have seen inquiries back up to pretty much almost 2019 level as soon as the relaxation took place in the UK suggests that investors agree with that already anyway. So it's a bit different for expats, it's a bit different for foreign nationals because we're not viewing properties anyway. We don't go there and get shown around 5 properties. It's all done online. It's all done via agents. So you have to take an element of trust into what you're doing. But it's about just doing your due diligence on the UK market as a whole. And those fundamentals haven't changed.
Yeah, do you think the UK is very different from other countries in that respect as well, the ability to buy and sell?
Yeah, well, it's, as I say, it's got the clearest legal process that why do Asians, Hong Kong, Chinese, where I am, they love the UK market because it's so clear and they know exactly what they're going to get when they buy something there. And that's always been the way. I mean, there's other countries that have followed that process across the world, but there are plenty of others that have not, and there's plenty of other horror stories you hear about people buying in other countries where that legal process wasn't there to protect them.
Yes, yeah, that and also trying to get finance as well for those other countries.
Well, especially since 2008, Andrew, that's where a lot of it changed. Up until 2008, finance was readily available, and lenders were prepared to take risks. Since then, they've been much more prudent and frugal with their money, and rightly so. So it's making sure that you put yourself in a position to tick the right boxes to make sure that you're appealing to the lenders to give you choice.
Yeah, I mean, how many lenders do you think are in the expat market?
Oh, I wouldn't even begin to tell you. It changes on a daily basis, but it'd be upwards of 50.
Right. Okay.
But once again, there'll be varying levels of criteria. Some lenders will have very, very strict. I mean, some lenders will be minimum loan of 250,000 and a 40% deposit. So it's about finding the right mortgage for you. And what we've done after doing our research is that those are the areas that you need to fit. If you've got a sphere and you want to fit into those, like a Venn diagram, you want to be in the middle, then being in the middle is by ticking those 3 boxes we discussed earlier. But no, there's a lender out there for everyone. But you would have to accept that if you want something that's a bit obscure, your rate may be compromised slightly.
Yeah, I see. And then how does someone get started then if they think, right, I needed to add a UK property to their asset base and they think, all right, I want to build on this. What's the first thing that you should do?
Well, I'm going to say what I'm going to say, obviously, because they should speak to an expert. So come and speak to us. But no, really, they need to speak to someone who's got experience in the market, someone that's going to work with them, someone that they can trust, someone that they have a rapport with. So, you know, have a look about. There's other people other than just myself out there, but speak to us. And what we would do is run through a proper fact find, same as what you would do for a stock and share recommendation, and find out exactly what from an affordability perspective suits them, where suits them, time scales. And we would then put together a detailed report and make some recommendations as you would with any investment, and just do that over a period of a few weeks to make sure that the process is right for that individual.
Yeah. So what are some of the things they should look out for and say, well, actually, that's not going to work for me, or some of the problems that you could get later on down the line?
Well, I think most of it comes back to what we discussed earlier, is that you're 7,000 miles away or 5,000 miles away. You don't want to be hassled. Most of our clients are working in, you know, high octane environments. They're busy. They've got long working hours. What they want is just something that sits in the background from like a hands-free investment, really, that ticks over and provides an income and provides a capital growth potential for them. So it's about maybe not expecting too much. You know, if you want high growth and you want more than 7, you know, then you go up north and you buy some houses, but you're going to need the cash to do it. You're not going to get the finance. So I think you have to have a level of acceptance. You want a happy marriage between yield and growth, and appreciate that it's going to be a medium to long-term hold, as any investment should be.
Yeah. So if we go back to yield, have you got any examples of the type of yield that you could probably get at the moment? I know it changes, but what people should be looking at?
Well, I think the investor in the UK, I mean, I used to do a lot of buy-to-let mortgages for people in the UK, 2005 to 2010, and their net yield that they're always looking to achieve was around 4%. That was their threshold, that their cutoff was. So if you can achieve that after costs, then you're doing well. So Birmingham, Manchester, Liverpool are all anything between 5 and 7 at the moment, depending on the property and the opportunity and the deposit you have. London is obviously a bit lower than that, but there are other areas to consider. Places like Nottingham, places like Leeds and Sheffield are certainly becoming more popular at the moment because the entry level is that a little bit lower. So you might be able to maximise the yield a little bit more, but on the flip side of that, your growth potential is good as well.
Yeah, I see. And then if you like, when we build our financial plans, we always have to take an assumption to say, well, we expect you to get an X amount of growth on a particular asset.
Yeah.
Is each of those cities different, or could you say actually the UK is growing at 5% per year, or 6% or 3%? Is it?
Once again, it depends on what the individual wants. So we would try and tailor a recommendation, a report for that person themselves. So yeah, you could look at it as the UK as a whole, but I prefer to actually do a report that factors in all of the cities with all of the yields, and then they can actually make their decision from there, working alongside our advice.
Yeah, I see. That's really, really good information. Thank you very much, Colin, for joining us.
Pleasure.
I will put Colin's details in the email so that you can get in contact with him and he can help you build that property portfolio or help you get the finance to do so. But that's great. So thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks.
Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.